One of these games almost killed the franchise, one of them saved the franchise, and one of them I think is the best of them all. Yeah, we're ranking every mainline Resident Evil game from worst to best, and if your favorite doesn't win, you're probably already typing and I'll be in the comments waiting. Hey, it's Cobra here to save you all from the paid, dishonest, sell-out opinions out there on games, movies, and shows. Topic of discussion today is all the Resident Evil games 1 through 9. Over the past month or so, I've spent all my free time replaying through every single one of these again to refresh my memory. Which ones are the worst and which are the best? Well, that's exactly why we're all here today. Before we begin, as always, I want to thank all 3,000 of you that have subscribed to the channel so far. It means the world to me that you enjoy this channel's content enough to stick around for the future. And if you aren't subbed already,
what are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
we did hit the 3,000 mark with my Resident Evil 9 review video, and I couldn't be more grateful for that. If you are a Resident Evil fan and want to see how I feel about each game individually, I made retrospective videos for most of them, and links will be in the description, just FYI for all of those if you do want to check them out after this video. But anyway though, enough plugs and BS, let's rank all these RE games from worst to best. Number 9. Couple things real quick, should be obvious, but I'm gonna say it anyways. There will most likely be spoilers ahead at some point, so consider yourself warned if you choose to carry forward past this point. And also, this ranking will be the newest versions of all these games, so the remakes are gonna be the ones judged here, not the originals. Anyway though, coming in at number 9 is Resident Evil Giraffe getting a BJ, aka RE6. The only game in the franchise that has me feeling like this when it's time to play this again. Resident Evil 6 is what happens when a survival horror franchise chugs 5 energy drinks and tries to compete with every action game on the market at one time. 4 campaigns, global stakes, explosions every 5 minutes. This game gives me a headache even writing about it. There is just so much going on in this one to digest. For starters, survival horror that Resident Evil was positively known for goes right out the window with this one. Arguably, the greatest core mechanic this entire franchise gives the player is inventory management. But in this title, that anxiety barely exists, if at all, honestly. You're rarely forced to make painful choices. There's no do I bring this key item or more ammo, and force yourself to dangerously backtrack if you choose wrong. Ammo is plentiful, herbs stack easily, tension is non-existent. Fair to say, in a nutshell, I think we all know at this point RE6 was not about horror in the slightest. I find the zombies to also be pretty mediocre, at least the ones that aren't carrying guns, which is very minimal in this game. This is the definition of not understanding your audience and chasing a trend. In what universe do we need to see the undead developing into super soldiers? Melee weapons I'm content with, but having full-on Call of Duty gunfights is beyond acceptable for me. The enemy AI to go along with all this is very, very bad too. During my Ada campaign this time around, more than a few times I ran around in this subsection. I went through all of these enemies and didn't even get hit a single time, and it came to a point where I was just kind of testing it out and it worked, and I was just laughing. It was ridiculous. The campaigns themselves are a drag as well. The only one I somewhat enjoy is Leon's for maybe an hour, but then it starts doing the same tricks as all the other ones. Time to go in Michael Bay mode and do the most ridiculous set pieces we can think of. No more searching for every last bullet, no more running from threats in tight spaces. Instead, just a whole lot of gunfire and explosions around every single corner. The gun gameplay is alright, I guess. It's the first one to allow movement while you aim. I really liked how much kick the guns have while you shoot, and I really wish they integrated that in the future of the series. But please, for the love of everything, can you people stop falling on your asses every time you get shot? What an awful mechanic for an awful game. Number 8. Ranking videos are tough to make because you always have to start with the early parts of the video being in negative mode, because similar to RE6, Resident Evil 5 isn't too far from the bottom at number 8. If I'm being honest, the big deciding factor for me is the lengths of these two. RE6 thought it was a great idea to give you a 20+ hour adrenaline rush of bullshit, so that's always had me hating it a bit more than 5. As for this one though, this is when Capcom began to have their identity crisis and left survival horror in the rearview mirror. The core premise you get with this one is actually solid enough, I would say. Bioterrorism is spreading across Africa, BSAA interventions, and corporate corruption still lingering from Umbrella's shadow, but unfortunately it's held down by the desire to lean into the heavy spectacle crap like RE6 did. Instead of genuine horror, you get escalating firefights. They could have really done something cool with this variation of the infected, but they chose to go down this route. There is, however, one ridiculous thing I did like for the most part in this game, and his name is Wesker. I mean, come on, just look at this guy. He's got superhuman reflexes, Matrix level dodges, and he even wears sunglasses at night for whatever reason. He's ridiculous, but simultaneously entertaining enough. Plus, they even throw in a mini twist here of Jill Valentine returning. Sort of an obvious surprise, her being the mysterious witch doctor-like character traveling around infecting everyone. But it's always nice to see Jill though. It's really difficult for me to talk about RE5 and 6 without constantly repeating myself. In my eyes, they are so similar in way too many ways. You get your over-the-top BS in both, mounted turret sections, stupid amount of ammo to rip apart anything in front of you. And this one specifically ruined Lickers by having literally hundreds of them attack Sheva. Also, I didn't mention it in the last entry, but quick time actions are what mostly ruins the gameplay and action for me anyways, even if you are into the action. Whether it's boss fights constantly making you dodge while you're trying to play the damn game, or these so-called epic cinematic set pieces they love so much, I find this mechanic to be extremely uninteresting and it pulls me out of the experience constantly. Oh, and I can't forget the legendary Chris punching the giant half-ton boulder inside the volcano like he's Superman.
Loathsome humans.
Number 7. Coming in at number 7 is Resident Evil 3 Remake. This always ends up being one of the weirdest entries for me. Why? Well, mostly for it being really short. As we'll talk about here, there are some likable things, but at the end of the day, why do I beat this game in under 5 hours every single time? They remove sections like the clock tower, for example, something that I don't understand to this day why they went with this route. No giant spiders. As someone that hates spiders, that's great to see, but they were part of the original game, so they should 100% be here. Maybe they just couldn't think of any more ways for Nemesis to get on your nerves, because my god is he annoying as hell in this one. Look, I really found myself enjoying early game Nemesis a lot, admittedly. He's an unstoppable force trying to end Jill's life and nothing will stand in his way at all cost. But after that open area free roaming section with him, he turns into an annoying scab that will not go away. Only instead of itching, he screams stars instead, over and over again. It's literally every time you slightly breathe in this game, Nemesis, Nemesis, Nemesis. Oh, look at this. Nemesis. We get it, my man. Jill is fine as hell and you want a piece of that action, but there are other ways to go about it. Going along with Nemesis, you also get thrown into a ton of underwhelming boss fights with him. I really enjoy the first one on the rooftop, but what follows though leads to a lot of boredom. He'll run around these tanks for 5 minutes at a time to hide like a little bitch. He'll do the exact same thing, but this time he climbs the clock tower that we previously mentioned to drop a diving 450 splash from the top rope. And truthfully, the boss fights, you just just get underwhelmed by all of them, except for, like I said, the rooftop one. There are some likable things in RE3 though. Terrifying elements are seen from time to time, including that incredible hospital section. It was very nice to see Raccoon City fall all around you as you advance forward in the early portions of the game. People that once called this place home are now being eaten and transforming all around you. It sets a great tone in the early stages, and like I said, when you get to the hospital section later, that is also a great tone setter. I don't know if I would say survival horror is completely given to the player here, but you for sure don't have the endless supply of ammos that you do in the other titles I previously talked about. You don't go walking through these streets mowing down everything in your path with SMGs and assault rifles at all times. You will, however, notice how much of a badass main protagonist Jill Valentine is. She doesn't need an army at her disposal to overcome the odds. She shows resiliency and toughness that only comes from the person you are within, and I think she builds a great character here. Plus that ending sequence when she cuts Final Form Nemesis in half. Yes, please. Sorry if this entry on the list is a little bit short, but I think it's fitting for the Resident Evil 3 remake, if you know what I mean. Number 6. I know, bite my head off, chew it up, spit it out, and then step on it some more after you spit it out. I don't have the original in the top 5, blah blah blah, but for one, there is a big gap between number 6 and 7 on this list, just FYI, and 2, there are some damn good games in front of this title. I understand that RE1 laid the foundation and we wouldn't be where we are today without it, but I'm not a fan of nostalgia always wins because it's the original. With that being said, there is a lot to like in this game without a doubt in my mind. First off, the Spencer Mansion is one heck of a location in a video game. It gives you that abandoned, isolated feeling that you want in a horror game specifically. You'll spend hours of your time running through the same hallways over and over again to not only explore them, but to familiarize yourself with them. During your journey through this mansion, you'll discover plenty of enemy threats that entertain you, from standard zombies, hunters, dogs, and eventually zombies receiving a terrifying upgrade into Crimson Heads. Unlike RE5 and 6, this game will have you running around screaming your ass off at almost all times, honestly. If enemies aren't enough for you to worry about, I can guarantee you inventory management and limited saves will add to your stress a little bit. Whether it's leaving key items behind in your storage bin or maybe having a thin supply of ammo on hand, this game masters forcing players to make tough survival decisions. Adding to those tough choices too, they have an ink ribbon mechanic that limits the amount of times you can save your progress throughout your playthrough. You'll find them scattered through the Spencer Mansion, and you have to be smart when you choose to use them, because if you find yourself in a situation somehow where you have 0 of them, you legit cannot save until you find another one. The game does not care. The Resident Evil franchise is so great when it doesn't hold back on players. They dial up the horror and tension to all-time levels in this one too. They don't hold your hand for finding items you need to progress. The game lets you fall on your face, and dare I say wants you to fall on your face. And what this all leads to was the foundation of what this series became going forward, and I think the original still kind of holds up to this day. It's still a little dated, but overall is solid. Number 5. Following the miserable reception of Resident Evil 6, Capcom needed to switch it up or this legendary franchise had a realistic chance of dying off. Which brings us to the top 5 on this list with Resident Evil Biohazard. They had one job this time around: make this series scary again. Strip it down, slow it down, and stop blowing up everything every minute of every segment you get in every single game. This time around, there is no global catastrophe, no citywide war zones, just a missing wife, a rotting southern plantation home, and a family that isn't right. That contained setup is the story's biggest strength. It feels focused. Instead of trying to save the entire world, they give you a simplified objective with this one. Not sure if everyone feels this way, but the Baker family carries the story for me. Jack Baker is relentless, Margaret leans into body horror and gross transformation, and Lucas injects a Joker-like chaotic energy into the mix. They aren't just generic I want to end the world type of villains. Again, Joker reference, they want to watch the world burn, and the world in this scenario is the swampy, isolated property and Ethan. As far as the story goes, I think Ethan himself is my only issue with it. As a character, I like that he is intentionally grounded. He's not a super soldier, he's not a trained agent. He's just a guy doing whatever it takes to find the love of his life that recently turned up again. When it comes to the actual gaming side of things here, I found him to often lack emotion in a realistic way. His reactions to extreme horror are just strangely muted, I would say. Yes, in the next game we find out he is a molded himself, so there isn't actually true stakes, but he isn't aware of this at all, so some of the horrors he witnesses or experiences, like getting your fucking hand chopped off by a chainsaw, should be shockingly impactful. But Ethan is like, dang, that sucks, but we could fix it. Let's be honest though, what truly brings RE7 so high up on this list is the return of its horror roots. The Baker house feels claustrophobic, tight hallways, limited sight lines, and corners you can't fully see. Anything the visuals don't do for you in this game, the sound design picks up the slack. Floors creak, distant footsteps, muffled voices through walls. You're given time to breathe here and soak it all in and let the anxiety build up. For the first time since the early entries, you felt trapped instead of this empowered being that can mow down any threat that comes your way. Limited inventory is mostly back. In some stages of the game, you'll really have to think about your choices. And I also found the first person to be a very enjoyable freshness to emphasize the series is headed down a new direction. Something about the psychotic Baker family members in your face makes a difference. I will, however, say with confidence my main issue with this game is the enemy variety. The molded are serviceable, I might say. They're gross to be around in dark areas, but overall they lacked any kind of personality. At the end of the day, they get real boring real quick. Most encounters revolve around only slight variations of the same core enemy type. Different sizes, different speeds, slightly different abilities, but visually and behaviorally, they blur together, and like I said, they get real stale. So yeah, horror is back. Resident Evil, dare you say, is back when this game releases. And I know it's at the bottom of the top 5, and that might upset some people, but this is not a bad game in the slightest. Number 4. Placing at number 4 on this list by a very slim margin is Resident Evil Village, aka number 8. First things first with Village, it somewhat fixes my main issues that I did have with Biohazard, which slightly bumps it up over that game. Enemy variety is 100% improved. Each major area introduces a distinct biome-like feel and enemy identity for the most part. Castle D feels different from the Village. The dollhouse section feels completely different from Heisenberg's factory, and it allows the game to feel a little bit fresher than the previous one. And I know it's similar to the Baker family concept, but again, I think Mother Miranda's group of weirdos is an enjoyable experience. They all feel very unique from one another. The doll girl adds an incredible horror vibe to the game for a brief portion. Heisenberg gives you that arrogant, quirky kind of guy that sounds like Nicolas Cage if I'm being honest. And Lady D and her sexy daughters get you going in other types of ways.
Oh, hell yeah.
They also did a much better job with Ethan in this one. Instead of being this bland, underwhelming guy, this time he shows much more emotion. You'll see him have plenty of outbursts over his wife or daughter's safety. Whether it's anger or genuine worry, he expressed himself a ton more in this one. Originally, I wasn't a fan of this game taking place mostly in the daylight to eliminate the horror tone. Yes, I realize this is not as scary as 7 or the original entries, but there's still a decent bit of horror mixed in, enough to please me. Look at the dollhouse sections alone, creepy mannequin ladies, dark as hell hallways, and a horrifying mutating baby creature that hunts you down in the most unnerving setting. Yeah, that'll work for me. I think gameplay is where the concern slightly comes into play. This isn't a true survival horror once again, but similar to RE4, I think it's a solid enough balance that it's mostly enjoyable. You won't be managing inventory a lot of the time, sadly. You'll fight a decent amount of enemies that can feel like fodder sometimes. And that Chris section that they insert here was completely ridiculous and unnecessary. But ultimately, Village is fun to play. I know most people think I want zero action action in my RE games. In a perfect world, I'd love to see them make one complete game without it and go horror all the way through, but I also understand the series enough to know at some point in every game it'll ramp up to those levels. All I ask is no zombies wielding guns of any kind, no assault rifles, no mortars, no AA guns, and I'm cool with it. Number 3. Speaking of zombies wielding guns, here we go again at number 3. Everyone has been hating me over the last week because I hate one specific thing in this game. But as you can see though, I don't hate this game as a whole. Resident Evil Requiem comes in at number 3 of all time for the Resident Evil franchise. Personally, I'm just disappointed saying that because I wanted this to be potentially number 1 on this list, or game of the year at least for 2026. If I'm being real though, there's just no way you can convince me otherwise of that even being a possibility. I think mainly from the Leon side of things, pulling it down for a point or two. Yes, I find Leon's combat to be very enjoyable. It's filled with high-paced action like RE4. Parrying is back to being enjoyable. He'll dish out more spinning kicks than your brain can handle, and they even give him some more finishing maneuvers to let the blood flow this time around that I enjoyed very much. However, as Capcom likes to do, they push it a bit far. Up till now, you'll see the melee mechanic being used for the weapons quite a bit, whether it's spears or chainsaws. I like it a lot. What I don't like is the zombies wielding machine guns again. While yes, it's not exactly game breaking for this specific title, if it was, I would have RE9 even lower on this list. It did, however, pull me out of this game for an hour or so, and that is a problem. There's no reason we need to be headed back down this path towards zombie warfare again. And to top it all off, when you do get through that BS, they put Leon on a motorcycle and temporarily turn this shit into Fast and Furious. To make it even worse, they even screw over the dogs in this section as well, the enemy type that I hold near and dear to my heart for the scares that it gave me a long time ago in my life. They aren't here for tension and jump scares this time around though. They are here to get slaughtered with ease by Leon Kennedy on a motorcycle with his infinite ammo. I've said it once and I'll say it again, just because they told us action would be part of the gameplay doesn't mean that it's all good. What is good, however, and mostly really brings this game up to top 3 on this list, is Grace's 10 out of 10 intense gameplay before this. Survival horror is fully back in swing. They brought back the legendary ink ribbons to limit your saves if you choose that difficulty. Outside of the Requiem gun, you feel very underpowered and very under-equipped, which all leads to even more ramped up tension as you play this game. You could fight the zombies blocking your path to the objective item, but it might cost you more than a clip of ammo because they are very durable and dangerous. This kind of stuff is what we want to see. Give us true terror. They have plenty of unnerving environments to sink your teeth into and immerse yourself. Darkness is all around you. You can't see 6 inches in front of your face without a lighter. Curtains blow in the wind, and many areas give you that feeling that something should be there even though it actually isn't. Psychological horror done very, very well, to put it in a nutshell. Sounds don't miss out either. You'll hear groans in the distance signaling danger, doors or floors creaking all the way around you to set the mood, and of course I can't forget about the creepy singing ladies. And to be completely blunt about it, the zombies as a whole are fantastic. They are not quite Resident Evil 2 zombies in different kind of ways. They separate each other, but my god, are they similar enough to make it very, very good here. There's a lot to like in Resident Evil 9. It delivers plenty of horror to immerse yourself in. Leon's gameplay is a lot of fun to mess around with, and I think the stories / characters are compelling enough to keep you interested throughout. Sadly, it's not perfect with the second portion of Leon's gameplay getting out of control, but this is still a top 3 Resident Evil experience if you do ask me. Number 2. I know it's not number 1, but here is Resident Evil 4 Remake at number 2, and I can already see it now. You said you don't like guns and mortars from RE9, so don't you hate RE4? So let's just address this aspect and get it out of the way. Yes, just like RE9, I despise a good portion of Act 3 specifically in this game. There is no way that you can convince me that zombies need to have AA guns and mounted turrets to enjoy a video game in a survival horror atmosphere. Again, I'm cool with Leon doing his action thing, whooping ass along the way. I'm content with zombies having melee weapons even, because it still forces you to have that in-your-face combat style. When they send you into battle against a dozen enemies at a time while you're being shot by mounted turrets and other bullshit, it feels more like a war simulator than anything else at that point. And yes, it's a red flag for a game that is supposed to be survival horror, but I get it, this is more action-based. But there's a fine line balance difference, people. It is so hard to explain this without sounding like I hate Leon gameplay, but it's the guns, not the action. The ridiculous set pieces aren't my cup of tea either, but depending on them, I could live with them. But here, allow me to praise the action gameplay for RE4 so you understand. They added a new parrying system for the melee-styled combat, allowing you to counter the many incoming attacks you get in your face. Again, no parrying bullets, is there? From gaining experience through time, Leon turns into an MMA kickboxer for melee-styled combat that is again enjoyable. No kicking a turret, is there? Yes, you have a decent bit of ammo and supplies at your disposal, but I always find myself still having to manage inventory at times throughout this game. It more comes down to you strategizing what to take into battle, less about not having room to grab an item. Yes, I prefer the toned-down horror survival method more, which is why this is number 2 on the list and not number 1. RE4 also gives you a pretty solid enough story. You're tasked with rescuing the president's daughter, Ashley. Leon also finds himself injected with the parasite plaguing this entire area, so the stakes are definitely present. This game kind of does the whole RE7 and 8 approach with the multiple antagonists before those games even existed. From the likes of Mendez, Crowder, and weird Ramon Salazar, you'll see plenty of variety from the antagonists in RE4 to keep you interested all the way through. Plenty of boss fights will oppose you as well. There are 3 main acts in this game: the castle, the village, and the island. You'll also get chapters within these 3 locations, and at the end of the chapters you'll encounter those boss fights, powerful giant trolls, a very fun lake monster battle, and Mendez swinging around like Tarzan, plus whatever the hell this is. All this really does lead to constant entertainment that will have you wanting to carry forward even if it is 6 a.m. and the sun's about to come out and you need to sleep. And I feel like most people won't agree with me on this one, but there are still plenty of horror elements that still remain intact with this one from time to time. They throw you in this dark, terrifying cell area to meet the beyond scary blind Wolverine guys. You get put into this frozen basement area running around from creepy and scorpion dude. And just in general, there are so many places throughout that you'll discover that let you soak in the horror from time to time. I know most of you probably have this at number 1, and I get it, and it was for me for a long time if I'm being honest, but what can I say? I prefer a scary tone the most if they're capable of doing that, and in 2019, Capcom nailed it so much that I had to knock RE4 down a peg. And coming in at number 1. At number 1, the best Resident Evil game that exists right now is the RE2 remake. I'm aware this isn't the popular choice, but on this channel, I speak my true opinion whether it's agreeable or not. And honestly, I don't understand why this game doesn't get crowned more often. What an absolute masterpiece of survival horror this is. Right off the bat, the Raccoon City police station itself is one of the most iconic horror gaming locations out there to ever exist. It is designed perfectly to force the player to confront the dangers within it. They allow you to gradually unlock different areas at a perfect pace. Every spot you come across ties into other areas you previously explored. How do I open this lockbox to find what's inside? Oh yeah, that note I came across an hour ago might have the answers for that. This door wasn't accessible before, but now I have the key to open up more possibilities. Remember when you randomly found this book earlier? Oh, wait a second, that might actually fit on this statue. And wait a second, I don't even have the book on me that ties into my next point here. Backtracking and limited inventory shining so bright. There are so many times I stored a key item in the item box for later on in the game. Then you realize you don't have it on you, obviously, because it's in the item box and you have to travel all the way back through these dangerous hallways again to get it. Sometimes this game makes you panic so much that you'll go to retrieve the item out of the box and you'll completely forget to grab it by the time you get there anyways. And you might be asking, what exactly is there to be so afraid of? It might sound basic, but zombies are what you're afraid of 100%. They are very simple at the core, but oh so dangerous to get through. Not only are your bullets and supplies limited to go up against them, the zombies don't go down easy to preserve your bullets as well. They fill very tight spaces, which leads you to attempting to put them down or running for your life to hopefully make it through with some of your health left. That's why every item you find is just so precious. You'll stare at the map figuring out which route option is the safest bet so you can go from point A to B as safe as possible. Choose wrong and it'll cost you all of your valuable resources in the process. As you carry on through the story, you'll run into other threats as well. Down in the sewers, you come across these deadly poisonous booger creatures. After you venture away from the police station a little bit later, you'll get to reunite with the legendary dogs once again. And the number one thing in RE2 that scares the shit out of me the most, lickers. These things are beyond creepy. Only positive aspect they bring to the table is them being blind, but somehow even that makes them more uneasy to go up against. You'll walk as slow as you can, hoping that they don't hear you, but they'll move at a slow and methodical pace to send your heartbeat racing to new levels. Lickers and the standard zombies really ramp up the tension the most when Mr. X is introduced. He will chase you all over the police station, and this puts tension at all-time levels. He also emphasizes past mistakes that you might have made as well. Didn't kill zombies earlier in this area? Well, Mr. X is gonna force you to go down this hallway anyways. You didn't board up those windows to keep out new threats from spawning into the police station? Too bad Mr. X doesn't care about that either. I just love it all, and in the interest of keeping this short so I'm not going on a full deep dive rant here, the alternate playthrough options that you get for Claire and Leon are a great touch to add more replayability to the game. The later Umbrella Lab ends up being more unnerving than you might even expect with the plant zombies, and the updated visuals compared to the original RE2 add so much depth to this near perfect survival horror game. Well, there you have it, people, my worst and best RE titles from the mainline set of games. As you can see, the series has seen many phases. I'm curious which RE titles you dislike the most, or which ones tickle your pickle specifically. Be sure to let me know that in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, I would highly appreciate you dropping a like on it if you can. And if you want more videos on games, movies, and shows, be sure to also hit the subscribe button to stick around for the future. If you're interested in more Resident Evil content from me, I'll have all my retrospectives for the games linked in the descriptions, as well as my Resident Evil Requiem review video, so make sure you go check those out. I do hope you have a great rest of your day though. That is going to be it for me in this one. See ya!